Much like all of the rest of the unqualified MAGA DEI hires in Donald Trump's administration, Karoline Levitt stands out as one of the most disastrous, one of the most inept, and someone who is constantly screwing over Donald Trump when met with any confrontation or pressure from the press. And that is exactly what happened in a briefing today when she was confronted by Caitlin Collins over the clear censorship of the media coming from Donald Trump and Elon Musk, an illegal scandal not being talked about nearly enough. But of course, we are going to cover it on this show and the meltdown that ensued when she was confronted. But before we get into that, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into Caitlin Collins confronting Karoline Levitt, Levitt had a little bit of a lecture for the press that was so ridiculous we have to start with it.
Now, before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law. And they have issued at least 12 injunctions against this administration in the past 14 days, often without citing any evidence or grounds for their lawsuits. This is part of a larger concerted effort by Democrat activists and nothing more than the continuation of the weaponization of justice against President Trump. Quick news flash to these liberal judges who are supporting their obstructionist efforts: 77 million Americans voted to elect this president. And each injunction is an abuse of the rule of law and an attempt to thwart the will of the people. As the president clearly stated in the Oval Office yesterday, we will comply with the law in the courts, but we will also continue to seek every legal remedy to ultimately overturn these radical injunctions and ensure President Trump's policies can be enacted.
When you start your press conference by scolding the press for covering the unconstitutional actions of your boss, saying that they're wrong, they're lying, there is no criminality or corruption in Donald Trump's White House, it's a very clear sign that there is, in fact, a lot of criminality and corruption in Donald Trump's White House, that the steps and actions that he is taking to satisfy his agenda are unconstitutional. And we are in a constitutional crisis, as we hear so much from Democrats and media members who are willing to admit that and report it. When Donald Trump decides he gets to be every single branch of government just on his own, the dictator he promised to be, yes, that is a constitutional crisis. When Donald Trump's and George Bush's and Ronald Reagan's judges appointed by those Republican presidents are disagreeing with Donald Trump, yeah, that's not some liberal stance. That's not some activist judge. That's someone telling you you're breaking the law. And of course, Karoline Levitt didn't like that. And so she was defending not only President Trump, but President Musk right here.
As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOJ found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOJ identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one, $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing.
We're going to get into all of the corruption of Elon that was called out so masterfully today. You're just really going to want to stick around for that. But the way that Levitt is trying to defend Musk is just so disingenuous. It's so clear. He admitted it yesterday. He is lying. He is breaking the law. He is moving as quickly as possible so the courts cannot catch up to him. They've stated what they're going to do. It's our job to call it out. And that is exactly why Karoline Levitt was confronted by Caitlin Collins, because there is clear censorship from the free speech Republican Party on the press. And when Levitt was confronted with this fact, she melted down.
Final thing for you, which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night?
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the geographical identification name server. And Apple has recognized that. Google has recognized that. Pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America. And it's very important to this administration that we get that right, not just for people here at home, but also for the rest of the world.
Donald Trump demanding that the press give him completely positive coverage, suing outlets for reporting polling, for editing interviews like anyone else would. And then when those companies settle, sending their settlements, their donations, really is what they've become, to Donald Trump's presidential library, which is what has been happening. We saw that with ABC. We're seeing it again and again. First of all, I don't know how Donald Trump can have a presidential library if he can't read. I guess it's going to be a lot of picture books and maybe some relics from January 6th, because that's kind of what he's all about. But of course, this is violating the freedom of the press. Donald Trump is clearly intimidating corporate media and having success with it, and is why independent media is so important. It's so important we call it out. And of course, not just that president, but the co-president as well, and Elon Musk, who is attacking the other side of the coin, our government. And that was called out right here.
I'll ask you, Mr. Talcove, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government. Ms. Royal, do you know how much the average person in this country who survives on Social Security, one of our seniors who's worked their entire life, about how much they have to survive on a day?
I do not.
$65 a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans, is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day.
Such in just a very stark comparison. $62 a day for those on Social Security, $8 million for Elon. Like, that is such a clear picture. And I saw this defense from Joe Rogan of Musk that I think is going to be employed by a lot of Republicans, saying, well, he's already so rich. Why does he need more money? Why does he want more money? He's already got it covered. He's not going after your money. Yeah, that's why Elon Musk is so corrupt, is because he has this unquenchable thirst for more power and wealth. It's a disease. That's why he's acting this way. So no, it doesn't matter if it's 400, 500, 600 bill. It doesn't matter if it's $1 trillion Elon Musk is worth. He will always try to screw someone over for more. That's how he made his money, screwing people over, just like his buddy Donald Trump. We have to call that out. And of course, there were lots of call outs today, but the best of the best I had to say for last, Jasmine Crockett, the beautiful takedown of Elon Musk.
you talked about what the American people are looking for us to do. We've actually consistently on this side of the aisle promoted this idea of making investments into technology so that we can do things such as, say, look at the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense that takes up approximately, 50% of our discretionary income or our discretionary spending. Approximately 50% goes to Department of Defense. Department of Defense has not been able to pass an audit in the last 6 audits, and we're not talking about pennies. I understand that we want everything to be perfect, and if we could get all waste, fraud, and abuse out, that would be fantastic, but let me talk about the big numbers. The big numbers are on that side. When we look at, say, our entire workforce, our federal workforce, as we're trying to somehow fire all of them, they don't even make up a total of 5%. It's even less than that when we look at our budget. But let's talk about defense. That just happens to be the same side of the ledger that Mr. Musk gets the vast majority of his money from. In fact, at the same time that they were unlawfully, and we will stay in court, because on this side, we believe in law and order. We believe in, a number of us are actually lawyers, but nevertheless, we understand the Constitution. We believe in that as well. And so there's things such as, impoundment, right? Because as Mr. Whitson said, he said, we need to return the power of the purse to Congress. It never left. According to the Constitution, that's where it's at. Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy that went in, and you talk about people invading our data. Listen, people said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter, who for sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
It's time for
the
us
gentlelady's
to do our
time
job
has expired.
and rein in this rogue actor known
The gentlelady's
as
time has expired.
This is the energy we need to be bringing to everything. This is just the fire that I want to see out of everyone, and I'm loving it. And we're going to be bringing it, of course, on this show. You know that. You're hanging out with us. You know we bring the fire. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.